Chioma had spent the last 2 years believing in Davis. She had poured her heart, time, and money into him, hoping that one day he would succeed. But here they were again. Another failed business, another desperate plea for money. He looked at her with those same hopeful eyes, the ones that used to make her feel like they were in this together. But now all she felt was exhaustion. He asked for just $2,000, just a small loan to recover his losses, just one last time. But how many times had she heard that before? She reminded him of all the businesses she had funded, real estate, dropshipping, forex trading. Each time, he had sworn it was a sure deal. And each time, the money had vanished with no returns. She had even taken out a loan to buy him a car, believing that if he had better mobility, his work would improve. But nothing changed. Davis, ever the smooth talker, tried again. "We are a team, babe. You don't trust me anymore." That was it. The final straw. Chioma's voice rose with frustration. She had supported him for 2 years without seeing any results. What more did he want? She grabbed the designer watch she had bought him, the expensive chain, the shoes, every single thing she had ever gifted him, and threw them at him. She told him to take everything, take it and leave. Davis stood there stunned. He had never seen her like this. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, almost threatening. "You'll regret this." Chioma didn't flinch. She had wasted enough time. She wasn't going to waste another second. Work was no easier. At her office, the atmosphere was tense. Madame Juliet, her boss, was in one of her moods again. The moment Chioma sat down, Juliet's voice rang out. "Chioma, where is the luxury brand campaign? The client is on my neck." Chioma barely had time to breathe before responding. She had only received the project yesterday, and it was over 100 pages long. She was doing her best. Juliet scoffed. "Excuses. When I was your age, I did 100 slides in 3 hours. Chioma clenched her jaw. It didn't matter how hard she worked. Nothing was ever enough for this woman, but she needed her job, so she buried her frustration and kept working. Later that evening, as Chioma was trying to unwind, her phone rang. Her mother's cheerful voice filled the line before she could even say hello. "Anini, have you booked your flight?" Chioma sighed. She already knew where this was going. "Yes, Mommy, I'll be there Friday evening." Her mother clicked her tongue in disapproval. "Friday evening? The introduction is on Saturday. Why not come earlier? I want to take you to the market." Chioma pinched the bridge of her nose. "Mommy, I'm coming for Ife's introduction, not for shopping." There was a pause. Then her mother's tone shifted, more deliberate this time. "Chioma, there's someone I want you to meet." Chioma groaned. She had been expecting this. Her mother continued, ignoring the clear annoyance in her voice. "He is a responsible man, a real man." Chioma rolled her eyes. "Mommy, I have a boyfriend." Her mother scoffed. "That one that doesn't know what to do with his life. You need an Odogwa. Just meet him." Chioma knew better than to argue. When her mother made up her mind about something, there was no stopping her. The next day, Chioma landed in Anambra, exhausted but mentally prepared for her sister's introduction ceremony. She was barely at the house for an hour when her mother pulled her aside and led her to the back, where a tall, well-dressed man stood waiting. "Chioma, meet Chief Obiora Chukwura," her mother said proudly. Chioma sighed internally but put on a polite smile. "Nice to meet you." Obiora extended his hand, his gaze steady and confident. "The pleasure is mine." Her mother gave them a wide grin. "Just talk, I'll be back." And with that, she disappeared, leaving them alone. Chioma turned back to him, forcing a small smile. "So, are you single?" he asked, smirking slightly. Chioma blinked, bold. She wasn't used to men being this direct. "I'm in a relationship," she lied, hoping it would end the conversation. But Obiora didn't even flinch. "Break up with him." Chioma's eyes widened. "Excuse me?" He smiled, leaning slightly closer. "Do they not break up with people anymore?" Chioma let out a surprised laugh. "You're serious?" He nodded. "Very." For the first time in a long while, she found herself intrigued. Later that evening, needing a break from the crowd, Chioma stepped outside for some air. To her surprise, Obiora was already there, standing casually as if he had been waiting for her. "You're running away," he said without looking at her. Chioma sighed. "Not from anyone in particular." He turned to face her fully, his expression unreadable. "Good, because I came to see you again." She raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Obiora didn't hesitate. "Because I believe I'm going to marry you." Chioma stared at him in disbelief, then burst into laughter. "You're joking." He smiled. "You'll see." She shook her head, still amused but slightly unsettled by his confidence. Most men hesitated, unsure of themselves. But Obiora? He spoke like he had already seen the future, and somehow she wasn't completely opposed to it. Chioma returned to Lagos, eager to throw herself back into her job and forget about the bold, confident man from Anambra. But a few days later, her office assistant walked in, carrying a beautifully wrapped package. She looked at it in confusion. "What's this?" The assistant smiled. "It was delivered for you." Chioma opened the package slowly, her heart pounding when she saw what was inside. A luxury designer purse. Attached was a small note. I told you I was serious. Obiora. She stared at it speechless. This man was different. Before she could even process the gift, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated before answering. Hello. A cold chuckle came through the line. You think you can ignore me? Chioma froze. Davis, she clenched her jaw. Davis, leave me alone. He laughed slow and mocking. I just landed in Nigeria. 3 days only. Meet me at my hotel tonight. Her grip tightened around the phone. You're insane. His voice dropped lower. You'll regret this. I know everything about you. Chioma's blood ran cold. She ended the call and blocked his number again, this time for good. A few days later, she received a legal notice. Davis was suing her, but Davis didn't realize who he was dealing with. Chioma's best friend, Ife, was a brilliant lawyer. The moment she saw the lawsuit, she smirked. Babe, this guy just played himself. Davis had spent over 50 million naira in clubs, on women, and had posted it all online. Ife countersued, demanding he return $112,000 to Chioma. A week later, Ife called with good news. We won. Check your account. Chioma exhaled in relief. Davis was finally out of her life for good. One evening, as Chioma sat at her desk, exhausted from another long day, she heard a knock at her office door. She looked up, and her heart skipped. Obiora stood there calm as ever. I called. You didn't answer. She blinked. What are you doing here? He walked in, setting a takeaway bag on her desk. You're overworking yourself. She sighed. I have deadlines, Obiora. I can't just leave. He studied her for a long moment before saying, You don't need this job. She frowned. What? You already make millions from your perfume business. Yet you stay here, slaving away for people who don't appreciate you. Why? She had no answer. For the first time, she questioned everything. That night, Chioma couldn't stop thinking. She had spent so much time running. Not from Obiora, but from the fear of trusting again. She had seen what love had done to her mother. What if she made the same mistake? But Obiora wasn't like the others. The next day she went to see him. Taking a deep breath, she admitted the truth. I've been holding back because I was scared. He studied her. Scared of what? That you're too good to be true. Obiora stepped closer. Chioma, I am not your father. Her eyes welled up with tears. I know. He tilted her chin up, his voice gentle. Then don't push me away. She exhaled shakily, then finally let go of her fear. And as she kissed him, she knew she had finally found her home.